Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for joining us today for today's news conference. And to start off with, we'd like to show you a short video.
The City of Wichita and Sedgwick County are launching the Community Investments Plan to guide major public spending decisions through 2035.
We need your help to create this important plan, which is required by the state of Kansas.
A survey will be mailed out to 25,000 randomly selected registered voters in January. The survey will ask for your input on future public spending priorities, how much you're willing to pay to protect current public assets, and develop new ones.
Your feedback is critical to prioritize community needs at a critical time when our community is growing and our resources are shrinking. There's limited money and resources for local governments. In fact, revenue streams are diminishing.
In addition, the cost of providing government services is going up as fuel and energy prices rise and environmental compliance requirements increase.
So why should you care? There's a lot at stake for our community. You're a shareholder in $7 billion worth of city and county infrastructure and facility assets related to transportation, water, sewer and stormwater systems, economic development programs, and cultural, recreation, and park venues.
Please fill out the survey if you receive one. Your feedback for the Community Investments Plan will affect your generation, my generation, and future generations.
If you'd like to learn more, please visit communityinvestmentplans.org or contact Dave Barber with the Metropolitan Area Planning Department at 268-4421.
As you just saw, the current and future generations need our help on critical decisions related to future infrastructure and our community investments. And this is why the City of Wichita and Sedgwick County have been working with the Wichita State University to identify several ways to better engage our residents on these important decisions. By state law, we must develop a new community investment plan to help shape and sustain our area through 2035. Public transportation, water, sewer, and stormwater improvements, culture and recreation and park amenities, the economic development such as jobs, creation, and retention. Together, we must make important decisions, and as I said in the State of the City last night, much is at stake for current and future generations. Our residents own more than $7 billion in city and county infrastructure that we must protect, preserve, and we must build on it. So please, fill out the survey if you receive it, and please stay tuned for future opportunities for residents to weigh in on the important decisions as we seek your feedback on what you would like to see or want in our community. What do you want Wichita to look like over the next 20 years? Quality of life improvements do you desire? What kind of economy and jobs do you want here in the City of Wichita and Sedgwick County? What do you want to leave for future generations? John? We have Dave?
Thank you, Mayor Brewer. I'll talk briefly about the survey that's forthcoming and a little bit about our Community Investments Plan process. In the next few days, 25,000 randomly selected registered voters in Wichita and Sedgwick County will be receiving a survey in the mail from Wichita State University. This community-wide survey represents an important starting point in our community discussion about what should be our future public spending priorities and investment priorities in our community, essentially where best to invest, and secondly, what is our community's willingness to pay for future public investments, how much to spend. Those receiving the survey are asked to complete it within 7 days. Those who do not receive a survey but would like to look at it can find it posted on the project website at www.communityinvestmentsplan.org. And anyone with general comments about the survey or this initiative can submit them directly via a link posted on the project website. The random survey results will be tabulated and evaluated by Wichita State University over the next month or so, and we anticipate that survey findings will be released to the public probably in late March. Representatives from Wichita State University are here to answer any specific questions you might have regarding the survey itself. The community discussions will continue over the next 2 years, as a 23-member plan steering committee jointly appointed by the city and the county prepare a recommended new comprehensive plan for Wichita-Sedgwick County. And over the next several months, the plan steering committee will begin developing various community investment scenarios that reflect the survey responses regarding the question of future investment priorities and willingness to pay. And we anticipate that these scenarios will be presented back to the community later this year and in early 2014 with the hope of developing a preferred scenario from which we can use to develop the recommended plan in 2014. More information about the community engagement process and the next steps in this Community Investments Plan initiative is contained on our project website. I would encourage you to go there. There's also cards and handout material at the back of the room that also describe this in a little more detail. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and start the Q&A. If we could get the city and county leaders to go back up to the table.
Well, thank you. I think the Community Investments Plan survey is just a wonderful opportunity, a unique opportunity for the citizens of our area to provide us input as we try to define our preferred future. As the mayor indicated, between the city of Wichita and Sedgwick County, we have literally billions of dollars in community assets, and we need to have a solid plan which will help us decide how to maintain the assets we have and how to plan for future needs in our changing cultural environment. I've always made it a priority in my political life to engage citizens in conversations when we have big issues that confront local government. And I think Sedgwick County has always made it a priority so that we can engage citizens whenever we have an issue or a project that we need to decide what is the best way to proceed. It's important that we get local stakeholders, who in this case is the citizens of our community, at the table to help us decide what we want to do and how do we define our future. So we hope that if you should get a survey in the mail, we hope you'll take a few minutes to understand the topics that are represented there and then fill out the survey. And if you don't get the survey, we hope that you'll also take the time to understand the issues and go online at the website that has been described and give us your input. There are 25,000 survey items that are going out, and we hope to get 25,000 back. Our community is literally our community, and this is your opportunity to provide your input as we plan together for what's best for Wichita and Sedgwick County. So I just say thank you in advance for your effort in helping us plan for the future.
So at this time, we're ready to. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those questions for you that you may have.
I know you talked a little bit about it, but discuss why now. Why are we sort of doing this at this stage of the game?
The reason that we're asking now is because, as you know, we do have some challenges that are out there, whether it be the city of Wichita or the surrounding cities around Wichita, in defining as to where we want to be in the future and who are we. And so there's a lot of ideas and a lot of things that individuals are asking for, that citizens would like to see within the county and within our region. And it's important that we come up with some type of a master plan to define what are the priorities and what's most important to the citizens out there. So we're not only just talking about the city of Wichita in this survey and asking what they want and identifying what the priorities are, but also asking what the surrounding cities, what do they want to see? I mean, Wichita belongs to all of us in Sedgwick County. Any other questions?
Well, there was a chuckle in the room about getting 25,000 back. Let's talk about that for a little bit, because how important is it for people to take the time to fill this out and really contribute back to the survey and what you're doing?
That's one of the things that we've been telling individuals. We want to hear from the citizens. And yes, we're sending out the 25,000 surveys. But not only are we sending out the 25,000 surveys, we're asking individuals to go online, go on the internet to wichita.gov, or call either a city council member or one of our staff people or one of the county commissioners or city manager or county manager. Call them and tell them exactly what's on your mind and what you would like to see. Even though you do not get a survey, call them and let them know as to what you would like to see or what's most important to you as we prioritize. And that goes for, whether you live in Mays or whether you live in Goddard or Andover, any of those particular areas. So that way we can get additional input other than the 25,000 also.
But if you don't get a survey, you can't fill one out just because you want to.
If you don't get a survey, you can't fill one out, but you can go online and you can send us emails and you can see the survey also online. So you'll see exactly what those individuals are receiving. And you still have a way to be able to give some type of an input to myself or the county commission or your city council member or whoever your representative is.
Well, information is helpful from the public. It seems to me that the better quality of the information they provide you, the quality of information is as important as anything else, not just the quantity. What can they do to better inform themselves about the issues? As you said, they're very complex issues and not always easily understood by the common citizen on the street. What can they do to be better informed? You mentioned going to your website. Is there provide any other resources?
Mayor, can I answer that question?
Yes.
Yeah, we have a pretty robust project website, and all the research and background materials that we're compiling as we move forward on this plan are all listed there. A lot of detailed statistics on our infrastructure assessment and condition, all the data on community trends and forecasts that we're looking at in the next 20 years. It's all posted on the website. The whole process is listed there. The minutes and agenda from the Plan Steering Committee meetings are all posted there, so we can see what kind of discussion is going on at the Plan Steering Committee level. We've had 3 meetings now. We continue to add material to the project website. So frankly, our hope is that people, before they actually fill out the survey, will go to the project website and just kind of orient themselves a bit as to relevant information that might help them make more informed decisions when they actually do fill out the survey. Thank you.
Sir, real quick, when you develop a survey, is there kind of a point where you want to get specific results, but you don't want to overwhelm those participants? How do you kind of make that marginal line of getting good in-depth information, but not overwhelm someone when they open it up in the mail and it's like, whoa,
Well, that's a question on the survey format and layout. Perhaps someone from WSU might want to talk to the way the survey is actually organized and in how it's structured and getting a good response from people who fill it out.
The survey is the way we do surveys is a little bit different than a lot of people do surveys, and what we ask the respondent to do is to think a little bit less about their individual self-interest and to think a little bit more about what's best for the community well-being. And so the intro to the survey really leads into that discussion that says, okay, where do we want to be in the future? And I could walk you through the sections of it if you think that would help, or you just want a general kind of detail. General's good. Okay. Just to give you an idea of some of the kinds of things that we do to a lot of the items that are in the survey require a lot of background if you really want to understand water issues or economic development issues, and so you can't get into it in a great deal of detail. But when we lead into the section of, for example, on economic development, we present 2 very different perspectives on economic development. And we say some people believe that government should not be involved, should not be offering incentives, and that you should just let the free market work. Other people say we're in competition with communities all over the country and actually the world. And they are offering incentives, and so even though there's risk, we need to be in that pool. The survey also moves into a second section for economic development that basically talks about, okay, there's short-run sort of incentive kind of things that we can do, and there are long-run structural changes that we can make, including the public school system is absolutely essential to long-run competition, and so basically we start talking about city, the county, the school district, the universities, and all sorts of community organizations coming together to start changing the education scenario. So we have a whole string of items that they're in the survey that try to pull the respondent in sort of gradually in terms of their position, and ultimately they'll do what they feel is right.
How do you gauge the idea about the financial changes or challenges at both the federal and the state level?
We try to set that up to some extent, and even some of our items in the questionnaire talk about the withdrawal of federal funds, and consequently what should we be doing at the local level. So should we be filling in those kinds of things? Ultimately, in almost all surveys that I do, we lead you through a process to where you start answering questions about, should we invest more? Should we invest less in a variety of things? You see these items next to each other, so you recognize their opportunity cost. If you invest more in this item, you're going to have to disinvest in something else unless you're going to get additional revenues. And ultimately, we end the survey with the willingness to pay kind of items that say, you said these are important to you. Are they important enough to pay taxes to fund them?
How much is this going to cost to do?
The survey?
Yes.
I actually don't know. I just work for
The process for putting the survey together, so the work at WSU and then the actual mailing and printing cost is right around $65,000 to $70,000, depending on the return rate.
So it's safe to say this is beyond like a fill-out bubble, circle bubble survey.
It's a combination of circle the items, but everything is ordered, so you're sort of thinking about it in a logical sequence, so that when you get to the end of towards the deeper end of the questionnaire, you're formulating your ideas about water issues versus economic development issues, and there are spaces for you to write comments. We've found that if you don't leave people spaces, they will make spaces. So they're writing in and around everything else. So there's a combination of circle and discuss.
They talked about it. You talked about how helpful is it to have a lot of return on this survey for what you guys are trying to do?
It's very important because of response bias. If certain classes of citizens over-respond and other classes of citizens under-respond, then there's potential for a response bias. If you're doing surveys in Kansas, Florida, lots of different places like that, you're always going to get a retired person response bias, meaning they disproportionately respond to surveys. So we can go in and look at older citizens' views on an issue versus younger citizens' view on the issue. And if they're very different, we can sort of tell you what that response bias might mean, but the larger the return, the more confidence that we have in what we're saying.
How large a return do you feel is optimal?
Optimal? About 6,000 is about what we anticipate in terms of response.
Doctor, what is your position at WSU?
I'm a professor in Hugo Wall School of Urban and Public Affairs.
And how do you spell your last name?
Glazer, Glaser. That's right.
And that's good. Is that good? I mean,
That's good. 6,000 will get us what we need to know. What we've found is that even though there is a response bias because of age and things like that, it has remarkable predictive validity. When you look at for example, the first school bond election, our results told us that people would support building of facilities. When I was looking at it, I'm going, I really can't believe that. But results told us that is what would happen, and it happened.
even with that low, because you experience this, I'm guessing, with your history of doing surveys, that there is often a less return than
Yeah.
is the.
Always a response bias. Every community I've ever worked in depends on the community, the nature of that response bias. Always there. You just have to look at the differences between the groups and say, okay, since this group over-responded, and if they feel really different, then they've pulled the results this direction. But if there are not very many differences based on whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Actually, what we're finding is that differences based on race and age and to some extent income are not as important as they once were. Your attachment to community is actually more important than all of these issues that we used to think were pretty important.
You know how this survey is going to be sent out? It's just random, or is it going to be
It's a random survey. I don't know. You probably don't want the details, but it's a stratified random sample. Stratified random sample proportional between city and the county, and then proportional between council districts and commission districts, with a 2,000 case over response going to targeted precincts that have low income, where low income are targeted. So we sent out an extra 2,000 questionnaires to those targeted precincts to try to pull the lower income into the. Low income always under respond. So even by oversampling, they will still be underrepresented.
How long will it take a normal person to fill out this survey? Do you have any kind of time frame?
Honestly, probably about 10 to 15 minutes.
Professor Glazer, let me ask you a question. On page 4 and 5 of the survey, some items are underlined. If you're trying to avoid sample bias and skewing, why would you underline and put a boldface certain words as opposed to other words that aren't boldfaced and underlined? What are you trying to do there?
We are, because you're trying to sort through lots of different things, the section he's referring to is economic development. Because we're trying to,
Page 4 and 5 is transportation and water related. Maybe econ is here too, but I said page 4 and 5.
I don't know what the page numbers are. I don't actually have a survey with me, but which transportation? Water related?
Here's transportation. The next 3 pages are the same way.
Okay. In most cases, what we're trying to do when we underline something is to say, okay, here's the central issue that we want you to think about. So, reduce investment in residential streets. We pick out whatever is the specific sort of heart of that question. It's not an attempt to bias it in any way. It's when you look at the verbiage on a questionnaire, there's a lot of discussion there, and it's easy to sort of get lost in the verbiage. And so we will go in and we'll target increase the price of water, for example. That's the central thing for that particular item, and we want to make sure that they know that focus on that.
Why didn't you ask some specific questions like, would you support a 5 mil property tax increase?
People don't understand what a 5 mil property tax increase means.
Okay, why don't you ask a question like, would you support
requiring voter approval before local taxes would be increased?
The purpose of the survey is for the long-term planning, and I don't know how much they really want to drill down on those kinds of issues. I mean, we will know. We are very specific about willingness to pay. There's nothing hidden here or meant to be tricky in any way. People don't understand large numbers. They don't understand mill levies. But we're very clear about, and in the end, they will decide one way or another.
So how much impact do you believe this will have as we move forward in the years ahead in a changing political climate? Is it going to be a useful tool, or?
Well, I think it's important to recognize what the survey is and isn't. The survey is not the answer. So we're not going to get the survey response back and say, okay, the answer is. We're going to get the response back, and that starts the public debate that says, here's what you said in the survey. What do you mean? What should we really do? So people often sort of don't understand what you should be doing with the survey. You're really not trying to get the answer that says, okay, whatever they respond, that's what we go with. You have elected and appointed officials that are there to make decisions, and this survey advises them about where the citizens stand generally on the issue. But if you really want to know issues like with water, you're going to have an important public debate about where we should go with an issue like water.
This is a tool better used in the end by our elected officials?
It should help focus the public discussion about where we should go.
Thank you. Let the mayor come up and wrap things up. Dr. Rich.
Okay. So again, as I said, the 25,000 surveys are going to be out there, and we certainly encourage you, for those that do not receive a survey, to go to wichita.gov and to get an opportunity to read the survey. And if you know someone that you have a friend that did receive it, I ask that you encourage the friend to fill out the survey and to send the survey back. But also, as you're online, send us your opinion, your comments, your thoughts, so that information can be sent over to the Hugo Wall, and that can be included as far as the opinions are concerned. This is our opportunity to define who we want to be in the future, and we as policymakers, we want to know, what you want and what your priorities are for the future, and we figure out how to go from there. So again, I encourage you to fill out the survey, and I know what the statistics are, but I also know the citizens and how they are, and I know that they're passionate about their communities and about their neighborhoods and about their lives and also about their goals. Let's defy those odds of that 6,000 and surprise everyone, and let's try and send 25,000 back to the city of Wichita. Thank you.